The massive ship of the Galactic Hegemony hung in Earth's orbit like a shining silver leaf. It was 20 times larger than the biggest human space station. Inside the ship, Commander Zixtal stood with 6 limbs clasped behind his back. His pale blue skin reflected the glow of 100 screens showing Earth from different angles. "Primitive, but interesting," he said to his science officer. "They've only just reached their moon and sent basic probes to nearby planets." "Should we just move on?" asked the science officer. "They're clearly centuries behind the membership requirements." Zixtal shook his head. His species always did this when saying no, a gesture they had adopted from other coalition members. "The Council wants all intelligent life brought into the hegemony. We must at least make contact." The hegemony had grown from 3 species to 117 over thousands of years. Each new member followed the same path: grateful acceptance, peaceful integration, then prosperous cooperation. No species had ever chosen to remain outside the collective. On Earth, at the United Nations building in New York, emergency lights flashed. Security personnel rushed diplomats to the main chamber. The alien ship had appeared without warning, somehow bypassing all detection systems. Gregory Phillips straightened his tie as he entered the packed chamber. As America's senior diplomat, he would likely be part of any contact team. Next to him walked Lieutenant Susan Morgan, a military advisor with a calm face that hid her sharp mind. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," the Secretary General announced. "They call themselves the Galactic Hegemony and want to send representatives to meet us. They say they come in peace." "Of course they do," Susan whispered to Greg. "Nobody announces they come for war." 3 days later, a small shuttle landed at a specially prepared site outside Washington, D.C. Greg and Susan stood with 5 other human representatives, watching as the door of the alien craft opened with a soft hiss. The aliens looked almost human, except for their blue skin, extra arms, and eyes that were too large. They wore no weapons. Their leader stepped forward with a warm smile. "I am Shin Tulak, ambassador of the hegemony," he said through a translator device. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community." The meeting moved to a conference room. The aliens described a perfect society, thousands of worlds living in harmony, sharing resources and knowledge. No wars, no hunger, no struggle. "We invite Earth to begin the membership process," Shintulak concluded. "Of course, your species is young. You will have a guidance period of approximately 100 years before full integration." Greg leaned forward. "And during this guidance period, who controls Earth's resources?" The alien blinked rapidly, showing confusion. "The hegemony would manage resources for optimal distribution." "And Earth's military forces?" Susan asked. "There would be no need for them," Shintulak said. "The hegemony provides protection to all members." "So we would disarm completely?" Susan pressed. "Naturally, all members contribute to the collective defense." Greg exchanged glances with Susan. "And who commands this collective defense?" "The Security Council, made up of the founding species," Shintulak explained, his voice showing slight irritation. "So Earth would have no representation in defense decisions?" Greg asked. "Not for several centuries, no. You must prove yourselves first." The humans asked more questions. About voting rights, about freedom to explore space independently, about trade with non-hegemony worlds. With each answer, the aliens grew more uncomfortable. Finally, Greg stood up. "Ambassador, we appreciate your invitation, but Earth must be recognized as a sovereign power, not a colony or protectorate. We seek equal partnership, not supervised membership." The aliens whispered among themselves in their clicking language. Shintulak looked genuinely confused. "No species has ever rejected hegemony guidance," he said. "It is for your benefit." "Perhaps," Susan replied, "but humans prefer to make their own mistakes rather than follow others blindly." As the aliens returned to their shuttle, Shintulak turned to his deputy. "I don't understand. We offer them peace, prosperity, and protection. Why do they hesitate?" His deputy watched the humans talking seriously among themselves. "I think, sir, they value power more than peace." The great circular chamber of the Hegemony Council buzzed with worried voices. 200 representatives from 117 species sat in rising tiers, all focused on the hologram floating in the center. It showed Earth slowly spinning. "They are unreasonable," said Council Leader Vexalia, her feathered crest rising with emotion. "No species has ever questioned the guidance period. All understand it is for their own good." An elder from the slug-like Mirosi oozed forward on his slime trail. "Perhaps we approached them incorrectly. Their evolution path is unusual." A scientist stepped forward. She resembled a tall praying mantis with gentle eyes. "My analysis shows humans evolved as both predator and prey. Most hegemony species evolved as one or the other, usually herd or hive creatures. Humans have competing instincts." "Competing how?" asked Vexalia. "They cooperate, but also compete fiercely with each other. They form groups but value individuals. They create art but also weapons. They are inconsistent." The council members shifted uncomfortably. Inconsistency was frightening to species who valued harmony above all. "They are developmentally stunted," declared a round, fuzzy being from the edge of the chamber. "They need our guidance more than they know." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Jack Moore sat in a darkened room beneath the Pentagon. Screens showed intercepted transmissions from the Hegemony ship still orbiting Earth. His team of codebreakers and linguists worked day and night to understand the alien language. "What have we learned?" he asked the chief linguist. "They're talking." "About us, sir," said the young woman. "They call us developmentally stunted and primitive but dangerous. They're debating something called protective oversight." Jack's face hardened. "That sounds like a fancy term for takeover." "Yes, sir. They seem surprised we didn't just roll over and join them. Their other member species apparently did exactly that." Jack stood and paced the room. "What about their military capabilities?" Technician looked up from his screen. "Far beyond ours in most ways, sir. Their main ships have energy shields and weapons we can't even understand yet, but what? Their tactics are basic. All their simulations show direct approaches, no deception, no surprise. They fight like people who rarely fight." Jack nodded slowly. "Keep working. I want to know everything about them. And get me some time with the president. We need to prepare, just in case." Above them all, diplomat Catherine Bell smiled pleasantly at Ambassador Shintulak aboard the Hegemony ship. They sat in a meeting room designed to look like a human office, though the proportions were slightly wrong in a way that made Catherine uneasy. "We appreciate your patience," she said. "Earth's nations need time to consider your generous offer." "Of course," said Shintulak, his blue face showing what she now recognized as mild frustration. "But surely the benefits are clear. Peace, advanced technology, an end to your primitive conflicts." "Many find it appealing," Catherine admitted. "But questions remain about sovereignty, resource control, and military integration. These concerns are unnecessary," Shintulak insisted. "The Hegemony has peaceful intentions." "I'm sure that's true," Catherine said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "But in human history, those claiming peaceful intentions have not always remained peaceful." That evening, Catherine met with Jack and other military leaders in a secure room swept for bugs. "They're planning something," Jack said. "Their transmissions mention establishing presence in our solar system." "A show of force?" asked a general. "Probably. They think we'll be impressed and fall in line." Catherine shook her head. "They don't understand humans at all." "That might be our only advantage," Jack said. "They expect us to behave like their other member species, docile, cooperative, grateful. They've never dealt with humans before." "So what do we do?" Catherine asked. Jack smiled grimly. "We prepare a welcome they won't expect, and we keep buying time." Outside, the Hegemony ship gleamed in the sunlight, peaceful and beautiful. But to the humans watching it, it now seemed less like a beacon of hope and more like a sword hanging over their heads. 3 massive Hegemony ships appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. They moved slowly, making no effort to hide their approach. Each ship was 5 times larger than the first contact vessel. They glittered like giant diamonds in the darkness of space. On the lead ship, Fleet Commander Zarkon watched the main screen with confidence. Send the message again. Tell the humans we come to establish a guidance presence as is standard protocol for all new species. His communications officer obeyed. The message went out in all Earth languages. Attention people of Earth. The Galactic Hegemony arrives to begin your protective oversight period. This is standard procedure. Please prepare your world leaders to meet our representatives. In his command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Jack Moore smiled grimly as he heard the message. 6 months had passed since first contact. 6 months of preparation. They really think we'll just roll over, he said to Commander Olivia Grant beside him. Are all teams in position? Olivia nodded. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, her face calm but eager. Yes, sir. Earth Defense Force is ready. Operation Surprise Party is green across the board. Then let's show our new friends what humans are really like, Jack said. He pressed a button on his console. All units, execute. The Hegemony ships continued their slow, stately approach toward Earth. On their sensors, they detected only the expected civilian satellites and one small space station. Nothing threatening. Fleet Commander Zarkon looked confused when alarms suddenly blared across his bridge. What is happening? Energy signatures appearing everywhere, his sensor officer cried out. Hundreds of small craft rising from Earth's atmosphere. More appearing from behind their moon and inside the asteroid belt. Impossible, Zarkon said. Their technology is primitive. They cannot have hidden ships from our scans. But the evidence was on his screens. Small, fast human ships swarmed toward the Hegemony fleet from all directions. They had been hiding behind asteroids on the dark side of the moon, and in specially designed hangars on Earth that blocked Hegemony sensors. They're using our own technology against us, the science officer realized with shock. They've reverse-engineered systems from our diplomatic vessel. Olivia Grant's voice came over all Earth Defense Force channels. Remember your training. Use pattern delta attacks. They expect direct approaches. Give them chaos instead. The human ships darted and weaved in seemingly random patterns. To the Hegemony, trained in ordered formation fighting, it looked like madness. But there was method in the madness. Earth ships never attacked from the same direction twice. They fired, retreated, then appeared from unexpected angles. They used the gravity of nearby planets to slingshot at impossible speeds. Some deliberately crashed into Hegemony shields, not to damage them but to test their strength and gather data. Return fire, Zarkon ordered, but his gunners couldn't lock on to the erratic human movements. On his command ship, Jack watched the battle unfold. Phase 2, he ordered. Suddenly the human ships pulled back. The Hegemony commanders relaxed for a moment, thinking they had repelled the attack. Then 6 larger Earth vessels appeared from hiding places in the outer solar system. They fired unusual missiles that passed right through the alien shields as if they weren't there. How is this possible? Zarkon demanded. His technology officer looked pale. They found a frequency our shields don't block. It should have taken them decades to discover this. One Hegemony ship lost power and drifted helplessly. Another suffered damage to its engines. Even Zarkon's command ship shuddered under unexpected attacks. Retreat, Zarkon finally ordered. Back to Hegemony space. As the alien ships limped away, cheers erupted in command centers across Earth. But Jack and Olivia didn't join the celebration. This was just round 1, Jack said quietly. They'll be back with a bigger fleet. Olivia nodded. But next time, we'll be even better prepared. In the retreating Hegemony flagship, Zarkon composed a message to the Council. Humans are unlike any species we have encountered, he wrote. They do not fight with logic or order. They fight with trickery and chaos. But most disturbing of all, they seem to enjoy it. 6 months after the battle, a different kind of ship arrived in Earth orbit. It was smaller, decorated with symbols of peace and science. This time, the Hegemony came not with threats but with offers of cultural exchange. They want to understand us better, President Clark told the gathered advisors in the White House Situation Room. They're offering to host human representatives on various hegemony worlds while sending their scholars to Earth. Admiral Jack Moore frowned. It's a trick. They want to spy on us. Perhaps, said Dr. Alan Peterson, head of the newly formed Xenopsychology Division, but it's also an opportunity for us to learn about them. Alan was tall and thin with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked like a professor, which he had been before first contact changed everything. I agree with Dr. Peterson, said diplomat Nicole Harris. Her red hair was pulled back in a neat bun, her suit crisp and professional. We should accept their offer, but choose our representatives carefully. 2 weeks later, Alan led a team of 12 human scientists to the hegemony capital world, Zintara. It was a planet of impossible beauty, with floating cities and gardens that grew in mid-air. The buildings were made of a crystal-like material that changed color with the time of day. The aliens treated the humans like honored guests, showing them libraries, universities, art galleries, and scientific institutes. But they never showed military installations or power plants. Alan used his training in psychology to observe their hosts carefully. He noticed how they moved in groups, always seeking consensus before making decisions. They became anxious when humans disagreed with each other openly. One evening, Alan sat with a hegemony biologist named Jivnar in a garden overlooking the capital city. Glowing insects like tiny stars flew around them. Your people evolved so differently from ours, Alan said casually. Did your species face many predators during evolution? Jivnar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Predators? No. Our ancient ancestors lived in the deep oceans where we formed vast connected colonies for protection from harsh environmental changes. Fascinating, Alan said. Humans evolved on dangerous plains, hunted by large predators, but also hunting other creatures for food. We had to be both prey and predator. That explains much, Jivnar said softly. Your dual nature, your strange mix of cooperation and competition. Over the next few weeks, Alan interviewed many species. Almost none had evolved with significant predator pressure. Most were herd creatures or descended from hive species that valued group harmony above all. They found human individualism and competitive spirit both fascinating and frightening. Alan shared his findings with Earth through secure channels. They don't understand us because they never had our evolutionary pressures, he reported. They value peace so highly because they never had to fight to survive as a species. Meanwhile, Nicole Harris led the diplomatic team visiting hegemony military academies. The aliens believed they were showing humans the proper way to organize defense forces. Nicole saw something very different. Their entire military doctrine is based on shows of force, not actual combat, she reported back to Earth. Their weapons are incredibly advanced, but their tactics are thousands of years behind ours. They have no concept of deception or surprise. She observed training exercises where hegemony officers always approached problems directly, following the same patterns their ancestors had used for millennia. They had technology but lacked tactical creativity. One evening, a hegemony commander proudly showed Nicole their defense grid. It can stop any attack from any known weapon, he boasted. Nicole noticed how the shield generators all used the same frequency patterns. A single well-designed virus could probably disable the entire system. She smiled politely and took notes. Back on Earth, military analysts studied the reports from Nicole and other observers. They identified critical weaknesses in hegemony defenses. Predictable patrol routes, standardized responses to threats, centralized command structures that could be easily disrupted. They're so advanced yet so vulnerable, Jack Moore told the president. They've had peace for so long they've forgotten how to think like warriors. The president looked troubled. Does that mean we should strike first, before they learn from us? No, Jack said firmly. It means we stay prepared. We learn all we can, and we hope they really do want peace. Because if they don't, they have no idea what humans are capable of when threatened. The emergency alert woke Admiral Jack Moore at 3 a.m. He rushed to the command center where officers stood around screens showing a fierce space battle. But this wasn't near Earth. It was happening at the edge of hegemony space. What's going on? Jack asked. The hegemony is under attack, explained the officer on duty. A species called the Vrex Dominion crossed their border yesterday. The hegemony defense fleet is being decimated. Jack watched as sleek predatory ships tore through hegemony formations. The Vrex ships were smaller but faster, using hit-and-run tactics that confused the hegemony commanders. The Vrex have requested we stay neutral, the communications officer said. They claim they only want hegemony territory, not Earth. Jack studied the battle carefully. Get me the president. 3 days later, a hegemony delegation arrived on Earth. Their ships showed battle damage. Their representatives looked tired and afraid. We request human military advisors, said High Counselor Trazim, a tall alien with silvery skin that now looked dull with exhaustion. The Vrex have taken 3 border systems already. They are unlike anyone we have faced before. President Clark looked at his advisors. Jack nodded slightly. We'll help, the president said. But our advisors will have full authority to implement their recommendations. No interference. The aliens agreed immediately. They were desperate. Colonel Ryan Cooper led 50 human military strategists to the Hegemony Command Center on a planet called New Dawn. The planet had once been beautiful, but now refugee ships crowded its orbit and soldiers prepared defenses on the ground. Ryan was shocked by what he found. Despite having advanced technology, the hegemony military was in chaos. Their commanders argued in committee meetings while the Vrex advanced. Their troops followed outdated protocols that didn't work against the enemy's tactics. This is worse than we thought, Ryan told his team. They have no concept of adaptive warfare. Ryan took control immediately. He reorganized hegemony forces into smaller, more flexible units. He taught them to adjust tactics based on battlefield conditions rather than following rigid plans. The Vrex expect you to defend in place, he explained to the hegemony commanders. So instead we'll retreat from this position. Retreat? They were horrified. We never retreat. Exactly. The Vrex don't expect it either. We'll draw them into this empty system, then hit their supply lines from behind. The hegemony officers looked confused, but they followed Ryan's plan. It worked perfectly. The Vrex overextended their forces and were caught by surprise when hegemony ships attacked their vulnerable supply ships. For the first time, the Vrex advance stalled. After several more successful operations, the Vrex requested peace talks. Ryan attended as a human observer. The Vrex were reptilian creatures with scales that shifted color with their emotions. Their leader, Dominant Krazak, stared at Ryan with vertical slit pupils. Your tactics, Krazak said in a hissing voice. They are not hegemony tactics, they are unpredictable, like ours. Ryan said nothing. You are from Earth, the new species? Krazak's scales rippled with interest. Perhaps we attacked the wrong enemy. Perhaps Earth and the Dominion should talk directly. That won't be necessary, Ryan replied coldly. Earth stands with the hegemony. After the meeting, High Counselor Trazim approached Ryan privately. The alien looked troubled. Your people learn warfare too quickly, he said quietly. In mere days you understood the Vrex and countered their strategies. It took us months to even begin to comprehend their approach. We have a long history of conflict on Earth, Ryan explained. We understand predators. Yes, Trazim said. That is what concerns me. The Vrex are predators, and so it seems, are humans. He hesitated. Some on the council fear we may have invited an even more dangerous species into our midst than the Vrex. Ryan smiled, but his eyes remained serious. You should hope we remain allies then. That night, Trazim sent a private message to the Hegemony Council. Humans must never gain access to our most advanced technology. Their military aptitude combined with such weapons would make them unstoppable. Maintain the appearance of gratitude and friendship, but begin contingency planning immediately. They are not like us. They do not seek harmony. They understand power in ways we never will. The Proxima Centauri space station floated at the halfway point between Earth and hegemony, space. It was built specifically for the treaty negotiations, a neutral ground where both sides could feel comfortable. The station combined human and alien designs, with one half built in the practical, angular style of Earth architecture, and the other in the flowing, organic style of the hegemony. President Diane Miller led the Earth delegation. She was in her 60s with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her reputation for tough but fair negotiations had won her the presidency 3 years earlier. The main conference room had a circular table with Earth representatives on one side and hegemony officials on the other. Above them, the transparent ceiling showed the stars and the faint blue dot of Earth in the distance. The Proxima Accords must recognize Earth as a full and equal partner, President Miller said firmly, not a junior member or a protected species. Supreme Counselor Vex Alia looked uncomfortable. But Earth is new to galactic society. All species undergo a guidance period. That was before humans helped save the hegemony from the Vrex, Miller countered. We've proven ourselves. The negotiations continued for days. The humans pushed for unprecedented rights within the hegemony structure, independence to explore space, control over Earth's resources, and a fast track to representation on key councils. They demand too much, Vex Alia complained to her advisors in a private meeting. No new species has ever received such privileges. No new species ever defeated our fleet and then saved us from invasion. Her advisor replied wearily. We must be flexible. Behind the scenes, Intelligence Officer Paul Martinez worked with his team to monitor hegemony communications. Paul was stocky with a quiet manner that made people underestimate him. His specialty was finding information others wanted to hide. They're adding secret clauses to the treaty, he told President Miller during a break in negotiations. I found encrypted messages between their legal team and the council. They plan to include language that would let them restrict human expansion through technical regulations. Miller's face hardened. Find me proof. The next day, as the hegemony presented the latest draft of the treaty, Miller remained silent until they finished speaking. Then she stood slowly. Before we continue, I'd like to discuss Section 47, Paragraph 3, she said calmly, specifically the definition of permitted exploration zones and how they relate to the Resource Development Clause. The hegemony representatives looked at each other in confusion. That section had been carefully hidden in legal language. Even the human translators shouldn't have understood. Miller smiled without warmth. Perhaps Supreme Counselor Vex Alia can explain why this section effectively prevents human ships from accessing 70% of the resource-rich systems promised in the main agreement. The room went silent. Vex Alia's skin paled. How did you... She began, then stopped herself. We take these negotiations very seriously, Miller said. Serious enough to verify everything thoroughly. 3 hegemony representatives resigned that day, claiming health reasons. The humans gained even more concessions as the embarrassed hegemony tried to recover from being caught in their deception. The final treaty, signed 2 weeks later, gave Earth unprecedented rights. Humans would provide military protection for hegemony worlds in exchange for technology and resource rights. Earth would have representation on all councils immediately, not after centuries of waiting. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Vex Alia approached Miller privately. You must understand our caution, she said. Your species adapts so quickly, you think differently. It frightens many of us. Miller's expression softened slightly. Change always frightens those accustomed to stability. But the galaxy is not stable anymore. The Vrex proved that. And if humans decide they want more than this treaty offers? Vex Alia asked quietly. Then we'll negotiate again, Miller replied. That's the human way. We prefer talking to fighting. Yet you excel at both, Vex Alia observed. Yes, Miller agreed. That's why you should make sure this treaty works well for everyone. Because while humans prefer peace, we always prepare for alternatives. As Earth ships departed the station, Paul Martinez watched the hegemony officials through a window. They huddled together, already planning their next move. They still don't understand us, he told President Miller. They will, she replied, or they'll learn the hard way. The emergency alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council chambers. Delegates from 117 species rushed to their seats as holographic displays showed a massive fleet of Rex warships moving deep into hegemony territory. "They've broken the peace agreement," Supreme Counselor Vexalia announced, her voice shaking. "The Rex Dominion has launched a full invasion with 3 times the forces of their previous attack." The council erupted in panicked debate. Some delegates demanded immediate surrender to avoid destruction. Others insisted on trying to negotiate a new peace. None offered a clear plan to fight back. In the human section of the chamber, General Laura Robinson watched with growing frustration. Laura was newly appointed as the first human Supreme Commander of the Combined Defense Forces. She had short brown hair, a strong jaw, and the quiet confidence of someone used to making life-or-death decisions. "They're wasting time," she muttered, to her aide. "The Vrex are already past the outer defensive line." After 2 hours of debate with no decision, Laura stood up. Though not physically imposing, her presence silenced the room. "While the Council debates the Vrex advance," she said simply, "as Supreme Commander, I am implementing Defense Protocol Alpha immediately." Vexalia looked alarmed. "But the Council hasn't authorized. The Combined Defense Treaty gives me this authority during an active invasion," Laura interrupted. "I don't need authorization." She walked out of the chamber without waiting for a response, her team following quickly behind her. In the military command center nearby, Laura took control. Screens showed the positions of all hegemony and human ships throughout galactic space. "Move the 3rd Fleet to the Centauri Gap to cut off their advance," she ordered. "The 7th and 9th will execute a fighting withdrawal from these systems, drawing the Virex main force here." She pointed to a star system with a complex asteroid field. "But Commander, that's giving up 12 systems," a hegemony officer protested. "We're not giving up anything," Laura replied. "We're choosing the battlefield. Did you learn nothing from our previous engagement with the Virex?" Her plan was implemented immediately. Human officers took direct command of key hegemony units. Mixed human-alien crews worked together on strategic vessels. The withdrawal confused the Vrex, who had expected the standard hegemony response of standing and fighting at border systems. When the Vrex pursued, they found themselves drawn into carefully prepared traps. Mines hidden in asteroid fields. Ambushes from supposedly abandoned moons. Electronic warfare that confused their targeting systems. For 3 weeks, the battle raged across multiple star systems. Laura slept only a few hours each night, constantly adjusting tactics as the Vrex adapted. But the Vrex adapted slowly, while human commanders changed strategies daily. Then came the news Laura had been dreading. "A Vrex battle group has broken through," her intelligence officer reported. "They're headed directly for Earth with 30 capital ships." Laura's face showed no fear. That was always their real target. They want to remove humanity from the equation. She opened a secure channel to Earth. "Admiral Moore, Operation Thunderbolt is now active. I repeat, Thunderbolt is active." The Vrex fleet approached Earth confidently. Their ships dwarfed the few human vessels visible on their scanners. The Vrex dominant, watching from his command ship, began to compose his victory message. Then his sensors officer screamed. Energy readings everywhere, hundreds of ships appearing from inside Earth's moon. The lunar surface seemed to peel away as hidden doors opened in the Earth's natural satellite. From within the hollowed moon came an armada of ships unlike any the Vrex had seen before. These weren't the vessels humans shared with the hegemony. These were something new, darker, sleeker, more predatory. Earth had been building a secret fleet, hidden from both friend and foe. "Impossible," the dominant whispered. "Their technology, it's beyond even the hegemony." The human ships attacked with overwhelming force. Their weapons cut through Vrex shields like they didn't exist. Their own defenses shrugged off Vrex fire. Without effort, the battle was brief and decisive. Not a single Vrex ship escaped. On the hegemony capital, the council watched the footage in stunned silence. "They deceived us," Vexalia said finally. "All this time, they had technology and forces they never revealed." "No," said the Morosi elder. "They were prepared. There's a difference. They hoped for peace but prepared for war, something we forgot how to do long ago. As news of the Vrek's defeat spread, Laura received a message from the Vrek's homeworld. They offered unconditional surrender, not to the hegemony but to Earth. The galactic balance of power had shifted forever. The Galactic Council chamber had changed. Where once the hegemony representatives sat in elevated positions above newer species, now all seats were arranged in a circle on the same level. The room no longer belonged to the hegemony alone. It was the meeting place of the new Galactic. Confederation Admiral Frank Johnson stood at the center of the chamber. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but his back remained straight and his eyes sharp. On the large screens around him, evidence flashed one image after another. For 6,000 years, he said, the hegemony preached peace while preparing for war. These are not the actions of a peaceful coalition. The images showed secret shipyards hidden in nebulas, weapons development facilities disguised as research stations, and military training grounds on uninhabited worlds. Most damning were the archived messages between hegemony species planning conflicts while publicly advocating harmony. The founding species maintained control through the myth of superior morality, Frank continued. They claimed to have evolved beyond conflict, while they armed themselves against each other and against us. Former Supreme Counselor Vexalia sat with her head bowed as her people's duplicity was exposed. Many other hegemony representatives had already resigned. The massive chamber was now filled with representatives from species that had quickly allied themselves with Earth after the Vrek's surrender. Humanity never claimed to be perfect, Frank said. We admitted our violent history openly. We spoke of peace, but made no secret of our readiness for war. At least we were honest about who we are. The vote that followed was quick and decisive. The old Hegemony Council was dissolved. A new confederation formed with simplified rules and transparent governance. Each species would have equal representation, with leadership rotating annually. The first rotation, however, would begin with a human as Confederation President. President Diane Miller stood to accept the position, looking tired but determined. We did not seek this role, she told the assembly, but we accept it as our responsibility. Later, that evening, a reception was held in the grand hall adjacent to the council chamber. Representatives from all worlds mingled, some eagerly seeking human allies, others watching warily from a distance. Ambassador Michelle Adams stood by a window overlooking the capital city. Michelle had dark skin and a reserved manner that hid a brilliant mind. She had been one of Earth's first representatives to the hegemony years ago. A group of former hegemony leaders approached her, led by an elderly Morosi. His slug-like body moved slowly across the floor. You have replaced one ruling group with another, he said bitterly. You humans speak of equality, but now you dominate just as we once did. Michelle turned from the window. Her eyes were kind, but her voice was firm. The difference is that we don't pretend superiority is our birthright, she replied. Leadership must be earned through actions, not claimed through age or tradition. But your species is so young, the Morosi argued. You have existed as a spacefaring civilization for mere decades. Some of us have explored the stars for millennia. And what did you learn in those millennia, Michelle asked? To hide your weapons while preaching peace? To use treaties to control others? To fear difference rather than embrace it? The Morosi had no answer. The universe doesn't reward peace alone, Michelle continued. It rewards the peaceful who are strong enough to defend themselves. Humanity mastered this balance long ago. You never did. Across the room, a young diplomat from a newly discovered species approached President Miller. Is it true humans fought wars against each other for most of your history? She asked nervously. Miller nodded. We did. Terrible wars that nearly destroyed us. Then how did you unite to become so powerful? Miller smiled sadly. We never truly united. We just learned that we could disagree without destroying each other. We turned our competitive nature toward positive goals while never forgetting its power. She looked around the room at the new galactic order forming before her eyes. The old hegemony feared power, so they pretended to be above it. Humans respect power, so we learn to use it wisely. That's the difference. Outside the Grand Hall, ships from 100 worlds moved through the night sky. But it was the distinctive silhouettes of Earth vessels that drew all eyes. They were beautiful and terrible, sleek predators among graceful herd animals. The galaxy had changed forever. The age of pretending peace was enough had ended. The age of peace protected by power had begun.